No, yes. Next, we have Nayan Kale. Nayan is passionate about technology and healthcare. He is a sales and business development leader with over 20 years of experience. He has helped to drive business for enterprises like IBM and set up and scale up European sales for startups like Quest Connect and Jakarta. Nayan, the stage is all yours. Please.
Excellent. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So I think thank you for the introduction, Devdatta. Let me go to the presentation. Okay, so Devdatta introduced me already. I work in the IT industry and have helped enterprises and am helping startups to build their businesses primarily here in Europe. Passionate about technology and healthcare in particular. Today is all about Data Inventor. This is a startup, NLP-based startup, founded by Som, a friend of mine, and I'm helping him with growing the business, with the business development activities of Data Inventor. Just a short some introduction for Som. Som is a very successful entrepreneur with an exit from a startup called Heckle, where he got in the Bloomberg CEO to run the startup for him and eventually exited from it. And now he has set his sights on Data Inventor, and it's growing in leaps and bounds, basically. Healthcare is a common passion that got us together. And so today what we'll do is, Som will take us through, I thought we'll go through a bit of a real life examples as well, where how Data Inventor has been leveraged during the pandemic. Three use cases centered around basically 360-degree of view of a patient, clinical coding, and telehealth as well. So I think how this has helped, the platform has helped help cope with the pressures and challenges of the pandemic. So I think without further ado, Som, I'll hand it over to you. Yeah, I'll stop sharing and you can go ahead with the demo.
Perfect. Thanks, Dan, and thanks everyone, and thanks for inviting me. So what I'll do, I'll directly jump into the demo, spend like 3-4 minutes showing you the demo, the live action, and then probably we'll take up the questions at the end. Now, being an NLP, it has a wide applicability, but as we discussed, we have kept it very focused for showing you a couple of 3 use cases which been implemented by our clients already. So we'll just share my screen, quickly show you in a minute what we do, and then get into the use cases. Let me know when you can see my screen. Is it visible, man?
Yes, yeah, very clear.
So what I'll do quickly, I'll just get into a very generic NLP stuff. So NLP, as you know, is pretty generic natural language processing. We use a lot of ontologies and machine learning. We use everything apart from deep learning, what Professor just said. So we just totally concur with him. So as you can see my screen, this is like a normal doctor's note. It could be a doctor note, it could be medical prescription journals, and we make our system to understand what it is. So what I mean by that, if I just give you a quick example, this was a doctor note written to the system. System can quickly read and understand that you're talking about a patient which is 87 years of age, female, being gone through medical procedures, cardiac catheterizations, taking different types of medications. So it can understand various aspects of a healthcare perspective. We have different ontologies which we have trained on it so that it can make out differences between medicines, short forms for doctor use, body parts and all. Now, the same thing has been used in different use cases. Now I'm going to show you 2 use cases, a couple of use cases, how it has been implemented. First and foremost use case is a company called Babylon, which is in US and all over the world. And during the COVID, they have to provide at-home support to the patients. So whenever the patient gets discharged and back to the home, they were providing at-home support. So what the nurses used to do, they used to talk to the patient twice a day, and then used to fill up a form and get back to the doctor looking at the prognosis, how the patient has been doing. They were taking 48 hours after they record the chat, because the chat goes back to the India and Philippines to get recorded. Now, using our technology, the moment the chat is done with the patient, they're able to submit the report back to the doctor under a second. So they have reduced it from 48 hours to a couple of seconds, you can say. Let me just show it to you how they were doing. So as you can see, this is a sort of a chat where nurse comes, and it's a live actual data, what we are seeing over here, where the doctor, nurse comes, talks to the patient, how is he doing, what he is doing. Let me just take it a chat engine. Sorry, just log it into live and see. So this pulls up a chat from one of their chat engine, which they use it called Sendbird. So on the left side, you can see there's a nurse doing a chat with the patient, what he's eating, how he's feeling, what he's taking on the medication front, what he's eating, and all those things. Now this chat goes to different places earlier, and then he used to fill up a form. Now using our NLP, as you can see, on the right side, I'll show it to you, what was required, and they can able to do it in a second. So this is what the NLP does, reads the entire chat, figures out what's been discussed as for the vitals, fill the form that what is the vitals of that patient, what are the symptoms present in that patient, what are the symptoms absent, any symptoms which need to be ignored, which is very important because we develop a grammatical sense for the symptoms being ignored. What I mean by that, like for example, it's pretty small, but let me read out for you. If I take my cursor on dizziness, it says, inform sir if the patient feels hypoglycemic symptoms like giddiness, thirst, sweating, we immediately need to check his sugar level. So there are three things happening. A, it is saying it's conditional, it's not present, because if he feels so, then we need to do it. Second thing, it's resolving the entity as well, because there's nothing called giddiness in the dictionary. They figure out giddiness means dizziness. So A, it figures out the entity and resolve it to the nearest dictionary they feel like. And third thing, it tells it's conditional in nature. It's not present, it's ignored. Last but not the least, it looks at all the medications, figure out what the medication the patient is happening, what type of recommendation the medicine has been given. At the same time, it can read the patient chat and figure out whether it's an alert note, it's a diet note, so that whether it can go to a dietitian or physiotherapist, or if there's an alert immediately, it can directly go to the doctor and integrate into the workflow management. Simple stuff, first use case. Second use case, let me just show it to you. We are integrating this to automating the claims and clinical coding part. For example, as you can see this, it's a second simple example. It's the same doctor's note. The moment I click on analyze, it analyzes, reads the same thing, attaches ICD coding and SNOMED coding, which is nothing but use the over here in the CCGs or the NHS to integrate the clinical coding part and the payment part. So these people use our API to extract the SNOMED code out of it, understand what the medical procedure is all about, and integrate with the payment stuff. And this can take any form. It can take your OCRs, it can take any document. And interestingly, you can even speak to this thing. Let me just do it, for example. It seems the patient has heart trouble. We need to take it for cardiac authorization. So you can simply speak into it. You can analyze it. You can just say that we need to order this medication to that patient. It can quickly understand, click it, and everything is sort of automated and gone. So this is the second use case which they implemented because of COVID. They were getting a lot of work and they want to automate most of the things. Last but not the least, we are working on a use case which Professor just mentioned, creating a 360-degree view of the patient. And these are the same questions which doctors normally ask to the patient so that we can reduce the patient's visit time from say 15 minutes to hardly 10 minutes. It's still work in the making, but it's good. Just let me just pull it up and show it to you what we are developing for them. So this is what we are developing for one of the hospital, where they want to look at a 360-degree view of the patient. And their use case was that whenever the doctor sees this, before looking at the patient, he should be able to see the image or how the patient looks like. So for example, the important aspect we are pulling in from EHRs and different databases like his age, weight, height, blood group. Looking at the unstructured text, we are figuring it out, whether he's a smoker, drinker, light, active, whether he's active or not. Does he have any chronic diseases already, which has been identified? Any allergies? We also look at the ethnicity because it's important, because sometimes if you have a deficiency of vitamin D, looking at the ethnicity, they say they can quickly figure it out. Designation has been discussed in their doctor's note. It tells you whether the patient is active or not. On the left side, you can see we look at the family history. If it has a family history of, say, anything, we can quickly look at like breast cancer and stroke over here. These days, very important thing is the mental wellness. So we figure out all the mental wellness he has in the different databases present. Is he working already with dietitian or physiotherapist? Any procedures have been performed with that patient, because normally doctors try to see all the previous procedures being performed. On the top right, you can see any recent travels, because if he's having similar sort of fevers, they can figure out whether he's traveled to places like Sri Lanka and all, where different types of fevers are prevalent. Again, medications, diagnosis timeline, when the acute or the chronic disease has been found out. And when we figure out it's a chronic disease like diabetes, the doctors need to make sure that we need to pull up the latest records so that they can see how the diabetes has been going on. So our system looks into the latest lab reports and pull it over here. And when they come, we just show it in the latest form, what are the current complaint, why is coming from. And looking at that, they want to integrate different types of workflows and other things. But this is like a 360-degree view. What I mean by the workflow, like for example, if I click on one at the top, the system tells them that Julia should be reported or scheduled for mammography due to the family history of breast cancer. So it's nothing but just looking at the patient profile, looking at the history. They want to automate these things so that doctor, instead of asking the same question again and again, it can quickly come to the conclusion. Like many of the times when he has palpitations, and if doctor knows that he has a mental wellness problem of anxiety, it could be because of anxiety he's having a palpitation, not because of the heart problem. So this is another use case which we're implementing, which we just started, but other two are already in production, which people are using it. Thanks a lot. If you have any question, we'll take it as you say at the end. Nayan, over to you.
Yeah. No, thank you. And just to confirm, this was the last 360-degree view was NLP being there to extract information from unstructured and, of course, structured data wherever it is available. Yeah, just to add that. Yeah. Okay. No, that's it. Thank you very much. So back to you. So I think when I say back to you, I'm supposed to introduce Devdutt now. I think